Welcome to Built from Love, the podcast for moms birthing businesses and babies. I'm Erin Pratt, and thank you so much for being here.
Hello, and welcome back to the Built from Love podcast. My name is Erin Pratt, and I'm so excited to dive into one of my favorite topics of all time today. And this is something I use as a party trick whenever I'm in situations where I'm first meeting people. I seem to always somehow bring up this topic, and I can't wait to share more about it with you. This has singularly changed the way I approach my life, my business, and my motherhood journey, parenting styles, understanding my children. It is all encompassing. Many of us have used astrology over the years to better understand ourselves. Understanding our sun sign, our moon sign, our rising sign. It's something we tend to talk a lot about in society. And it is just a fun way to get to know the people around you and fun facts about them to better understand who they are and what might make them tick. I do enjoy astrology, and it's something I kind of looked into throughout the many years of my life for a long time. Although it felt like it was not really the complete story. Even getting deeper into my charts and understanding where my planets were in what house, it got a little bit confusing and felt like it was boxing me into certain categories that I sometimes resonated with and other times didn't. There's also, of course, personality tests and so many different tools you can use to truly start to learn more about yourself as you're growing up on this beautiful journey of life. A few years ago, I first heard about this very cool tool called human design. And human design is a relatively new system. It was sort of brought about in the 1980s and received as a download to one man in particular. And over the years, I have just been getting more into better understanding what human design is and understanding more about my human design type and my chart. I've gotten a few readings over the years, and for the first time, I really felt like this is a system I can use to help me better understand the way I'm supposed to interact with and move through the world. So I want to talk a little bit about what human design is for those who may have not heard of this before. I just glanced down and it's 11:11, so it seems like the perfect time to get into that. Human design is quite a complex and comprehensive system to better understand your energy type and your soul's life purpose on this planet. It is something that you could spend a long, long time getting into, so we're just going to cover the basics today. And I'm going to share more about how I've used my human design journey to restructure and better align my business with my human design type. And after having my two girls, I looked up their human design types, and I'm going to share a little bit more about how I use human design in parenting my two unique, beautiful souls that I've brought into this world. So, human design is a self-discovery system that combines ancient wisdom like astrology, the I Ching, the chakra system, with modern science, including quantum physics and genetics. This is more than just your personality. It's about you on a soul level. From my understanding, when you are first born into the world and emerge from your mother, the planets are all aligned in the sky in different ways. So similar to astrology, it takes almost like a snapshot of the night sky and what's going on in the universe as a whole. And with those particles that are being sent to Earth from all the planets in their different alignments, they infiltrate your body and sort of create the snapshot of yourself on a soul level as you enter the planet in this lifetime. So I'm not going to get too granular with that, but you're welcome to look more into that. And I'm going to be linking in the show notes some different resources that I've used to understand human design. But similar to astrology, it's almost like a snapshot of the moment you were born. So when you look up your human design type, you need to know the location of your birth, the time of your birth, and the date of your birth. It's very simple. There are 5 different human design types. So these are sort of the overarching types that you can fall into. The types include manifestors, manifesting generators, generators, projectors, and reflectors. About 70% of the population falls within the category of generators and manifesting generators. About 20% of the population are projectors, 10% are manifestors, and only 1% of the population are reflectors. I want to dive into just what these types at an extremely high level mean. And you might be thinking, how is the whole world one of 5 types? So this is just where it begins. It is so much deeper than this. But understanding these 5 types is going to help you kind of get started with human design. So generators and manifesting generators at a very high level, and you think about that being 70% of the world population, these are the people who are the energy builders. They generate energy. They influence the energy of the room. They are sort of like the workhorses. When they are in alignment, they can go, 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 and it feels really good to them. When they find work and a life purpose that is meaningful and in alignment with what their soul is here to do, they quite literally generate energy and transform the energy around them. They are designed to move through life with their gut and do what lights them up. So when you think about that sort of gut instinct and checking in with your gut, is this a hell yes or a hell no? This is what generators should be doing as they move through the world. So when they're doing the things that they love, they feel deep satisfaction and in flow. When they're coming up against challenges, their main sort of emotion behind that is frustration. So if they're saying yes to the wrong things or forcing things that are not in alignment with their life path, their life purpose, they will feel frustrated. In life and in business, they are meant to follow this excitement wherever it takes them and then wait to respond to what shows up rather than initiating. So their kind of way to move through the world is to respond. So when things are presented to them, they have to make that decision. Is this a yes? Is this a no? So that's a little bit about generators and manifesting generators. Next up, we have projectors. So with generators and mani-gens being the energy builders, we then have projectors who are considered the guides. They are the ones to actually guide and channel this energy that is being put out in the world. Projectors don't really have a lot of their own internal energy sources. So projectors are often the ones who are most misunderstood when it comes to growing up through life because we tend to value what's external. So the work that we're seeing, the hustle, the grind. Generators and mani-gens are sort of built for that as long as it's within alignment of what they're doing. Projectors don't really have their own internal energy sources. So they have open centers and they're here to guide the energy of others. They're kind of considered like the seers. They see people at a really deep level. They're meant to offer wisdom and direction to those around them. When they're in alignment, they feel successful and they feel recognized for their value. Their challenge is when they're not being seen or feeling valued, they can feel bitter and they can feel bitter about trying to keep up with the other types like generators, mani-gens, manifestors. Projectors aren't designed to operate at that same speed. And in life and in business, they're meant to wait for the invitation to guide and not hustle or push. So projectors, again, are like the seers. They thrive when they are invited in and are invited to share their wisdom and literally shape the direction of our future and shine a path on how things are meant to be done. Projectors operate really well when they're in positions where they can incorporate a lot of rest. And oftentimes projectors, what most of the population can do in 8 hours, a projector can do in like 1 or 2 hours. They're highly efficient, but they require a lot of rest and reset. So they're not really meant to be here to work very hard. Shocker, I'm a projector. So projectors, when they find out about human design, it tends to be one of the types that really helps projectors understand themselves better. because we sometimes think something's wrong with us. Like, why do we want to do things so differently from others? And why do we require so much more rest and less hustle? Manifestors are about 10% of the population, and these are the initiators. So whereas projectors are meant to wait for the invitation, so they're meant to be invited in to share their insights and their wisdom, generators are meant to respond when presented with options. Manifestors are the initiators, so they are the ones who are sort of creating these things in the world. They are designed to spark new ideas, to lead movements, to initiate action. You think of these people who are the leaders in front of the crowds. They're the ones who are sparking new movements. They're the ones who are building these revolutionary businesses. And so you see these manifestors kind of at these places of innovation, of new ideas. And then they create the energy that generators and mani-gens can respond to and sort of buy into. And then projectors are there almost as the advisors of guiding where all of this is really meant to go and reining it in. Manifestors, their signature energy is peace when they have freedom and they feel trusted to move forward with their ideas, so they feel peaceful. When they're not feeling in alignment or they're coming up against challenges, they feel angry or misunderstood, and they don't like to be controlled. These are the kind of people who want to be in charge and the leaders. And in life and in business, they're meant to start things. They're meant to follow their inner urges and inform others. So they're really quite literally the go-getters. They're trailblazers, and they're not meant to wait. They are meant to initiate. And finally, reflectors. This is such a small fraction of the population. I've met one or two reflectors in my life, but it is such a beautiful design type. Reflectors are the mirrors of our society. They're designed to reflect the energy of the environment and the people around them. Their signature energy when they're in alignment is surprise and delight when life aligns with their inner rhythm. When they feel out of alignment and when they feel stuck or they're not on the right life path for themselves, they feel disappointed, whether they're in the wrong place or around the wrong people. It's really important for reflectors to find the right environment for themselves and the right people, because they will always reflect back what they are being shown. So in life and in business, reflectors are unique in that when they are making decisions about what to do next in their life, whereas mani-gens and generators can kind of go with that gut response, projectors need to be waiting for the invitation, so someone needs to invite them in. Manifestors initiate, so they don't need to wait for anybody. Reflectors are meant to actually wait for a full moon cycle. They're sort of like the moon, reflecting the sun's energy. They are meant to take a long time to make decisions, and they should really focus on being in healthy, thriving environments that feel aligned for them. So reflectors are like the barometer of our society. It kind of shows us where we're at in terms of our general human development on this progression of our human evolution and our emotional intelligence and where we're headed. So that's kind of an overview of human design at a very high level. And there's so much you can dive deep into with human design. Everybody's chart is very detailed, and there's so much that you can learn from it. I'm not going to get into every single thing, but there are two different parts of human design that you want to pay attention to if you're just getting started that will truly transform the way you move through life and approach parenting and business. And that is your strategy and your authority. So when it comes to the type, you immediately can find out what type you are. And then you want to pay attention next to what is your strategy and what is your authority. Strategy is how you're meant to move through the world, and authority is how you actually make decisions. I talked about this for each of the types already, but as a reminder, the strategy for manifesting generators and generators is to respond. The strategy for projectors is to wait for the invitation. The strategy for manifestors is to informed before acting. So you want to tell people what you're going to do, but you actually don't need permission from anybody. And the strategy for reflectors is to wait a full lunar cycle, so about 28 days. There's a couple different types of authorities. So, one of the main ones that most of the population has, about 50% of us have an emotional authority. So, that means that we make decisions based on how they feel emotionally. We also are meant to wait just a little bit of time to really digest and understand how it is we feel in our emotions and not just be too reactive in the decisions we're making. There's also the sacral authority. So, this is what a lot of generators have. And that is actually making a pretty instant decision. So, that's a hard yes or no in your gut. So, if you have a sacral authority, you can make decisions actually pretty quickly. There's lunar authority, that's reserved for the reflectors only, and that is they really need to follow the phases of the moon to make those decisions. It's quite a rare authority, but a really special one. And there's some mental authorities, there's self-projected authorities, so there's different types of ways to actually make the decisions in your life. Between your type, your strategy, and your authority, this can really guide a lot of the decisions you make through life and business and parenting. I want to share a little bit more about my personal journey with human design and how it has reshaped the way I approach my life path, my purpose, and my business. After discovering I was a projector, I finally understood why, when I was in the corporate world working 9 to 5, I felt such a dread about those hours, like so deep in my soul. I would just sit there thinking, this is not it. This is not how I want to spend life. I typically wrapped up my work for the day in my corporate jobs within 2 hours, and I would just spend the rest of the time pretending to be busy. This is actually when I started diving into things like human design because I had so much free time on my hands. I would be sitting there doing research, pretending to work. And it's not that I was a bad worker. I actually won awards. I was promoted. I was getting raises. I was doing really well. I just was able to do my work in a fraction of the time that others were able to do their work or that others decided to take to do their work. So, as a projector, I started to understand better my need for being efficient when I feel the spark of inspiration and jumping on that. And then actually retreating to a place of rest and play and creativity the rest of the time. It sounds funny, but like I'm on a soul level really not meant to be here to just work hard. I'm actually meant to be here as somewhat of a guide or a pathfinder for other human design types. And so you'll often see projectors in roles of teachers, of instructors, of podcasters. That's why I love podcasting probably so much as a new podcaster. We're meant to be in these roles that where we're not actually doing the work, we're guiding others on how to move through life differently and how to harness their unique gifts and put them out in the world in the best and most positive and most effective way. So that really transformed my business. And as I started noticing I was burning out from both corporate work and when I started my service based business, servicing clients, I initially really loved it and then quickly started getting burnt out because I was doing the work for my clients. Of course, they were hiring me to build websites. But I realized this is not fully in alignment with my life path. And so I started offering coaching and creating courses, and that felt much more aligned for me to shine a light on the path to success for others, to inspire others, to show them the way, to show them a different way without actually doing the work myself. As I get older, and I just had a birthday turning 35, I feel myself stepping into that role more and more, where I am meant to be here as sort of this beacon that shows a way forward into our world, into our future, in a way that hasn't been seen before, or at least to the people in my world and the people in my network, helping them reach their highest potential by really seeing them and guiding them in a gentle way, in a way that I have been invited in. So it doesn't mean projectors can't market themselves or put themselves out there. Quite the opposite. We're meant to share our message with the world, but people will welcome us in at the right time. So if you're listening to this podcast, you've invited me in. And that is the strategy for projectors. And that is what I've learned about myself and how I continue to shape and reshape my business to be more in alignment with who I am on a soul level. So that is business. Now, in motherhood and in parenting, I knew I was a projector, of course, long before I became a parent. So the moment my first daughter was born, followed by my second daughter, one of the first things I did at the hospital was look up their human design types. My first daughter, Sophie, is a generator, and she is a generator to a T. She has so much energy. She has so much enthusiasm for life. One of the cool things you can look at in your chart is your gifts. And you have a primary gift, and then you have lots of other gifts. And her primary gift is enthusiasm. She is meant to be here to up level the energy of the people around her and fire them up and get them excited. And she is such a social butterfly. And as a generator child, I need to make sure as a projector mom that I am helping fuel that energy for her by presenting her with options of what she might take to. And when I see that she's passionate about a topic or a certain type of hobby, for her right now, it's ballet. I am meant to really foster that enthusiasm and help her go all in on it. Because when she's in alignment with things that feel good, she's going to take off. It also means she has a lot of energy when she is in a place of feeling good. So lots of playtime, lots of outdoor time, lots of exploration and curiosity that we bake into our days. And then I also know my limits as a projector mom and my need for rest and retreating. And that's where I get support from the people around me, like family and my husband, and building these systems that allow me to recharge so I can continue to be the best mom to my generator child. And Lucy, my second child, is a manifesting generator. So very similar to a generator, but manifesting generators are meant to experience a lot of different things. They want to kind of get their hands into everything and they pivot quickly and they're really good at a lot of different things. So they're meant to sort of play around with lots of different skill sets, lots of different hobbies. So I might notice that Lucy as a manifesting generator will sort of hop from one thing to the next to the next. And that is not a lack of commitment. It is really just her way of moving through the world to experience it all and to welcome in new things into her life. So, as her mom, instead of forcing her to say, yes, you have to stick with soccer or gymnastics so we could build that resiliency and that commitment, I know as a manifesting generator, she might want to try a lot of different things. And that's a really good thing for her. So, I should foster that within her. Something cool that I just learned about human design is it also talks about environments that you thrive in, the types of environments, both literally and figuratively. So, my first daughter is very outgoing, very social, and I learned her environment is external markets. And external markets people are really thriving in environments where there is actually goods being exchanged, whether it's ideas or material goods. So, think of like an actual farmer's market or a mall, places of commerce and business and trade and lots of activity and lots of people going all over and a place to just thrive energetically. And when I take Sophie downtown to Charleston and we're going in and out of the markets or going in and out of hotels, her eyes light up and she loves to be there. She's social, she's friendly, she talks to people. Lucy is a caves environment, and I see this from even when she was first born. She loved to be worn. I always loved baby wearing, my two girls. Sophie loved it too, but Lucy just lived in my baby wrap. She was very attached to me for a long time. And even when she plays, she'll sometimes put a blanket over her head. She'll go into a corner of a playroom and sort of play in quiet. She likes to retreat. She doesn't like to be around a lot of kids, at least at this age right now. She likes to do her own thing. And so for her, caves, quite literally like a cave, or just that sense of security and comfort and separation is the best environment for her as she moves through the world. So it doesn't mean that she won't be out and about in the world, It just might mean she likes to sit in the corner of the coffee shop instead of the middle of the coffee shop so she can observe from a place of security and safety. So, these are just some interesting tidbits that you can glean from your child's human design chart. And it will help you understand how you can better parent this unique soul that has come into your life. And as parents, we, of course, shape our children in some ways, but in many ways, they are who they are. And the more we can foster their individuality and help create a safe space for them to grow and thrive, giving them the best possible outcomes that can come out of who they are meant to be in the first place, I think it's just a really beautiful, powerful thing. So, human design is just one of my favorite systems for understanding ourselves, understanding our loved ones. Of course, you can do this with your friends, your siblings, your parents, your spouse. And it is not coming from a place of judgment or boxing people in. It is actually just a system to better understand how best to interact with these people, how they tend to move through the world, how they should be making decisions that are most in alignment with their life path. So I encourage you to look up your human design chart. I will link a free resource in the notes. I love listening to podcasts on human design. Jenna Zoe is one of my favorite podcasters on the topic, so I will link her podcast. And it's just a really fun way to get curious about yourself, about your life purpose and your path, and how you are best positioned to move through this world in a way that feels in alignment with why your soul is here in the first place. So I hope you enjoyed hearing a little bit more about human design. And if you do look up your human design type, please feel free to share it with me and something that you've learned about it. I would love to hear it. It's one of my favorite things to talk about with my friends or acquaintances that I get to meet, just to better understand who they are at some sort of a level. I can't wait to hear your thoughts on this episode. And until next time, keep building what you're building from a place of love.